Good morning, everybody. This is Tuesday, September 28th. We're live talking about the fastest, easiest, and cheapest immigration programs to Canada. Okay, so we're live here on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. And just for the people who are joining us on Instagram, we're pushing everything to YouTube. So today officially will be our last two sessions of a live on Instagram. Next week onwards, we will just be posting our YouTube and Facebook live events on Instagram. So unfortunately on Instagram, we won't be live for the time being after this week. So that's just an FYI. If you're just mainly following us on Instagram, we are pushing everybody towards YouTube. Okay, so that's just an FYI. This again, everybody, this is a raw, unedited video. So if you're watching this later on, this is live. There's no editing. There's no special effects. Nothing. We're here to answer your questions. We're here to talk about Canadian immigration. So right now, the key things that we're going to cover are the easiest, fastest, and cheapest immigration programs for Canada. And again, we're here every Tuesday, 9 a.m., 5 p.m. Eastern time. That's 4 p.m. and I believe 8 a.m. in South America, some areas of South and Central America, and evening time overseas if you're joining us from Southeast Asia or Middle East. And again, we're live, unedited every Tuesday. Okay, so let's jump in. You can post your questions. Hello, Manjas. You can post your questions. And again, everybody, this is the last week on Instagram and that we're live. We're going to be posting our pre-recorded live events from YouTube onto Instagram in the future. Okay. So let's jump in and let's talk about the easiest, fastest, cheapest immigration programs to Canada. So what is the cheapest immigration program to Canada? It's express entry and family sponsorship. Okay. So let's say the cheapest immigration program. So express entry and family sponsorship are literally the cheapest, the lowest cost immigration programs out there to come to Canada as a permanent resident. We're not talking about visas here. We're talking about permanent residences. And again, everybody, just post your question. We'd be happy to see what's going on. If you post your question on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, we will answer it live. So that's the cheapest immigration programs, because if you don't know about express entry, they allocate points to based on age, education, language ability, work experience inside of Canada. Work experience outside of Canada is less prevalent, but still required in certain cases. If you're applying from overseas, you won't be eligible if you don't have work experience. Okay, so what is the fastest immigration program out there for to come to Canada? Hello, Della Rose Design. What is the fastest immigration program out there to come to Canada as a permanent resident? Right, one, express entry, CEC. So I know there's a lot of express entry applicants out there who have been invited but have not been processed. It's because they're overseas, and during COVID, overseas applications have been basically on standby. But if you're inside of Canada, CEC, Canadian Experience Class Express Entry, is the fastest. Then it's the family sponsorship. So if you're sponsoring your families from outside or inside of Canada, and the graduate stream in BC, Ontario, and Newfoundland. So if you study in a master's degree or a PhD, you can fast track to a PR without a job offer, without a work permit, right? I mean, you get a work permit, but no job offer, no work experience. Masters, PhDs in Ontario, BC, and Newfoundland, specific programs that are eligible would fast track you. So those are the fastest programs for Canadian immigration, right? So let's jump into that, and then we'll answer that. What's the slowest immigration programs out there, right? The slowest Canadian immigration programs are studying at a college, right? I mean, if you study at a college for 1 or 2 years, you have to be very on the ball to convert to PR immediately. People who go to college and then plan to become permanent residents in Canada would be looking at anywhere minimum a 3 to 5 year process, right? And there's a lot of uncertainty to it. Like, are you going to be eligible for express entry inside Canada? Can you get a job offer if you cannot go through express entry? Is your NOC code, the occupation you're in, eligible as work experience? Unless you're in Saskatchewan, I would say that most other places, college, studying at a college post-secondary program, whether it's a 1-year graduate diploma or regular 2-year undergraduate diploma, or even a university bachelor's degree, as a matter of fact, would be the slowest conversion to permanent residencies. The next slowest would be entrepreneurial programs. So investor programs based on work permits in Ontario, BC. However, there's programs in Manitoba, Atlantic Pro, which are much faster. But in Ontario and BC, again, the entrepreneurial programs are the slowest to PR. So those are the slowest ones. So we covered today the slowest, fastest, and cheapest. Very quick, based on experience. We've handled hundreds of applications, so we know what's slow, what's fast, what just doesn't work, right? So we have a few questions. If you're on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, just post your questions. We'd be happy to answer them. Post your questions live. We will answer it live. Okay. So let's look at questions here. We got some on Instagram. So Parisa is asking, hello, I had a temporary resident card in Turkey, but I didn't stay there more than 6 months. So I have to get a police certificate or not? Well, Parisa, technically no, but because you had a residency, they may ask it. Okay, it's a officially no, but the discretion of the officer may say, hey, I want you to get a police clearance because you had a residency there, right? But again, if you're submitting, you just make sure for your PR, just make sure you maybe put an explanation in there. In theory, they shouldn't ask you, but you never know. I've seen some weird things with IRCC. So Tanaz Balabani is asking, good morning, sir, on Instagram. There is a discrepancy between my CRS score and my EE profile and the Canadian CRS score calculated for CEC, despite the fact that I included my Canadian education history in my EE. This happens a lot, so you have to go back to your profile and calculate it in detail, okay? Because a lot of people make small mistakes. So unless you go in, you audit it, and again, go through the CRS score table separately from the wizard calculator and calculate it manually based on the criteria, okay? Because typically there's something going on in terms of you're miscalculating something. And so the system doesn't really miscalculate because it's an automated system. It calculates your points based on your responses and answers to the questions. So something may have gone wrong, or you miscalculated something with when you were calculating your score before you entered the EE profile. So we've seen that a lot. That happens regularly. However, you need to go through each question one by one. If you're not sure, then you gotta reach out to somebody to help you, friends, family. Manjas is asking, sir, I applied for my spousal open work permit last year, but still no reply. I'm going into depression. My friends got their SOP in just 2 months now. Why? It depends. If you're outside of Canada, processing is slow. I would say send a web form because sometimes files and applications get archived. They don't get processed. They're missed by IRCC. And again, you have to make sure that your spouse or partner who's in Canada has already started studying and working full-time here. And you have to have made sure those documents were correctly done. Okay, that's the only thing I can say, right? Because I don't know how you applied, but you should be following up. GK Hannes is asking, what is a bridging work permit? GK Hannes, so what is a bridging work permit? Good question, by the way. Bridging work permit is, let me just put this here. Bridging work permit is when you apply for a permanent residency inside of Canada and you already have a valid work permit, okay? But it's expiring and your permanent residency might take 1 year, 6 months, who knows, 2 years to process. So in the midst of all this, your work permit will expire, your PR is processing. What do? Well, you apply for bridging open work permit if you have a valid work permit at the time of your PR application. Okay, so and that bridging work permit will give you, anywhere from 1 to 2 years to continue to work inside of Canada while your permanent residency is being processed. Okay, because remember, everybody, if you're applying for a permanent residency, you do need to maintain status inside of Canada. If you're inside of Canada who applied under express entry or family sponsorship or provincial nominee program or anything, applying for a permanent residency does not mean you have status inside of country until your PR is issued and approved. So if you're here on a visitor or work permit or study permit, you still need to somehow maintain that status while your PR is being processed. Okay, so that was a great question. Good morning to everybody. If you have any further questions. Okay, so Tanas Balabani is asking, do I have a good chance with 409 CR score? 409 CR score with Canadian work experience is good, very good. Overseas, very little chance. I'll be very honest with you. Very little chance. If you're 409, you're overseas, your chances are below 10%. Other option is to study at a master's degree or a graduate level degree here in Canada and fast track to PR after graduation without a job offer, without work experience. If you're waiting around overseas with 409, I'm sorry to say, but that's not going to work. If you need help with anything, reach out to us. We'd be happy to guide you and help you out. Again, everybody, today we are here on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. We're here every Tuesday. Today afternoon at 5 p.m. Eastern Time or 4 p.m., let's say Mexico, Peru, Colombia, Argentina, we will be doing a dual language, a bilingual session in Spanish, English, talking about the best education programs for international students to study in Canada. So that's our afternoon session coming up later this afternoon. Tanas Balabani says, I'm in Canada, Ontario. Yeah, so I assume you have Canadian work experience, so you've got a great chance. So maybe not immediately, but in the next 6 months for sure, you will be selected. If you were overseas, then definitely no. Okay. Yeah, so that's good. So everybody, if you have any questions or anything on that, please post it. We're live on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. How long does it take to process work permits in Canada application? You could be looking at 3 to 4 months right now, and that changes. So if you're watching this video later on, these processing times will change. The last ones we received are around 4 months, but before that we were at 1 month. So it changes all the time. It's like the weather, folks. Immigration is like the weather. It rains one day, next day it's sunny. Maybe it's sunny in the morning, and then by afternoon it's raining. Who knows? Nell Kerr is asking a question on Instagram. I want to apply for a study permit and a visitor visa for my boyfriend. We have been in a relationship for almost 2 years. However, we are not living together. Okay, so that's unfortunately he or she, your boyfriend has to apply by themselves. You cannot link the relationship because you're not married, you're not common law, and you're not in a conjugal relationship. So from the immigration standpoint, he has to apply separately. You can give an invitation letter, of course, show that you have a, you know him, you've been in a relationship, but There's no way for you to apply for a work permit or consider it as an official immigration-based relationship. Would I be able to sponsor him with a visitor visa? Yeah, you can issue a invitation letter and say, I've got the resources, financial resources and everything. He's my boyfriend. I want him to visit me, right? Or a study permit. But again, it depends on where is he coming from, how old is he, education gap, his employment prospects in his home country. There's a lot of factors to consider. But yes, in theory, it's possible that you invite him or you try to help him out with his visitor visa. Should we apply separately? Yeah, I mean, you can only apply separately. Being boyfriend, girlfriend has no meaning to immigration unless it's very peculiar circumstances, which in 99% of the time is not possible. So anybody who's got questions, please let us know. You can post it. We're here probably another few minutes before we jump off. But again, everybody, this is an unedited live session. So if you're watching this later on, a recording on Facebook, Instagram, we don't edit, we don't put special effects. This is a live session. We answer your questions live, and we talk about a few immigration points as well for Canada. So Princess Adenike Dovu is asking us a question on Instagram. It's saying, under the new public policy that allowed visitors to apply for work permit in Canada, is home child job LMI exempt? So that policy is expiring, but is home child care job LMI exempt? Yes, because there's a caregiver pilot program, which makes it LMI exempt. So if you have a Canadian family sponsoring you, that's one way. But again, you have to be careful because some programs do not allow you to apply from inside of Canada. So it really depends on the circumstances. Cham Charms is asking us a question on YouTube. We will overlay that. Hi, sir. Was there a new update about the student pathway regarding its open work permit? Is it stricter now? Was there changes in IRCC? Thank you. So, Cham Charms, there's a new update about the student pathway that's open work permit. There's really no new, I mean, there's always policies coming out making changes. So if you are applying for postgraduate work permit and you're overseas, your study permit expired, you studied online 100%, until the end of this year, you're eligible for postgraduate work permit. But besides that, there's really nothing beyond that that's changed. Is it stricter now? No. If anything, it's more flexible. And the changes on IRCC I just mentioned. Okay, so hopefully we've answered that question. If you have any further questions, everybody just feel free to answer. Post your live questions here. We're here another few minutes before we sign off. So we've got our Instagram. Okay. We've got our Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Princess, yeah. We're good. We're good. And again, we're back here at 5 p.m., folks. Okay, so today, 5 p.m. Eastern time, which is, could be, later in the evening or early in the afternoon, your local time, depending on where you're. We're going to have Spanish, English. We're going to talk about the best immigration, the best international student programs to study in Canada, which will give you the best chances of permanent residency. Okay, so Tin Noon is asking a question on YouTube or Facebook. I'm not sure. Yeah, Facebook. What is usually a strong score for the master's program Ontario PMP? In this pathway, will a job offer further increase the chances? No, you don't need a job offer for this. Your work experience can help. Yes, a job offer is not required. A score, it depends. It just recently reopened. So right now, I wouldn't be able to comment on that, what the best score would be. It would be a little bit difficult to say. Probably end of this year, we'll have a better idea of what the best scores would be for the Ontario PMP graduate stream, which is the master's or the PhD stream, right? And if anybody is not familiar with that, you are allowed to apply or be nominated for permanent residency without work experience, without a job offer. There's a lot of advantages with that program. That program exists in Newfoundland in a different way, and BC, but again, very strict program requirements. Okay, so if you don't have any other questions, we can look at wrapping up soon. But again, we will be here live. If somebody's watching this recording later on, there's no editing of this. This is live, raw footage, folks. So if this, if we have an earthquake or this place goes on fire, you will see it live, and maybe a recording later on. There's no editing of this. And I'm going to be joined by my colleagues later this afternoon, our education manager, Carolina, and our colleague from Colombia, Laura, who will do a Spanish-English session, the best international student programs out there. Okay, if there's no more questions, we're going to wrap up here. Thanks again. Again, we're here every Tuesday to answer your questions. Okay, and today we covered the fastest, cheapest, and slowest, no, the easiest, fastest, and cheapest immigration programs out there. If you missed it, just watch the recording, go to the previous session. Okay, there's one last question on Instagram before we cut off here. It says, my husband has 10 years of work experience. He's over 40. What PR route would you advise him to apply? It's a tough one. If you're outside of Canada, I would say, realistically 2-3 programs. I mean, one would be, like, depending on his education and his education gap, maybe studying a master's, executive master's program here that will lead to permanent residency. If his profile is not good for studying, maybe if he's, I hesitate with business immigration because you'd have to have some senior management or business ownership, and it requires a lot of money. So master's stream I would recommend, probably in Ontario. And then the last question is on Instagram is Mary Doug. Okay, Mary Doug Messidor. Hello, if the courses starts before I receive the study permit, would you recommend deferred for the following year? If it's like 1 or 2 weeks, no. If it's more, yes. Post it to the next intake. So let's say in September 5th, 6th, 7th, your program started. It's close to October now, September 28th. You're missing a month. I would say defer it just to be on the safe, because if you miss a month or two, that can create issues, and then you got to catch up. But if for 1 or 2 weeks, I would never defer. But if it's 4 weeks and onwards, I would definitely defer. Okay? So thanks, everybody. We're going to sign off now. Appreciate it. For people who just joined us, we're here live on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. We're here every Tuesday, 9 a.m., 5 p.m., North America Eastern Standard Time. We're going to be back here today at 5 p.m. Toronto Eastern Time, which is 4 p.m. in Colombia, Argentina, Mexico, and Peru, and overseas. Okay? And we're going to talk about the best international student subjects, programs to study in Canada as a student, which will give you the best chances of PR. Coley13 asking our last question on Instagram. I have applied in the TR to PR path, but my experience is completing in October. Should I apply for PR and CC? Yes, you should, because if you didn't have, it depends on which program of TR to PR you applied, because if you already applied for a PR, you can't apply for another PR. So you have to withdraw one application. So if you met the TR to PR eligibility at that point, do not go and apply for another PR on Express Entry. You can't. Okay, so the only time you would do that is in case you know you don't meet the eligibility criteria for the TR to PR pathway. But if you do, just wait for that. You don't apply in 2 places. Okay. Thanks, everyone. We are going to wrap up today. And I appreciate it. Get AOR yet. IG and international student. That's fine. A lot of people haven't received their acknowledgement yet. But if you met the international student stream criteria, you wait for that. You do not apply for 2 PRs at the same time. That's a no-go, folks. That's one of the best things to consider not to do. Do not apply for 2 permanent residency applications simultaneous on the 2 different programs. Okay, that's key. Thanks, everybody. We're going to sign off now. We will be back here 5 p.m. North America Eastern Time today, Tuesday, September 28th. And everything I've said is valid for today, September 28th, because we don't know what immigration will do tomorrow morning when we wake up. Okay, appreciate it, everybody. Take care.